this episode of the Globe News Report, a student-athlete reflects on her record-winning career at Goshen College.
An interview with Executive Director of Music about keeping the programs going through COVID-19.
And the community fights back against traffic congestion caused by trains. All this and more on the Globe News Report. Welcome to the Globe News Report. I'm Zachariah Begley.
And I'm Dante Stanton. This is our last show for the year, isn't it?
It's our last show for the year and my last show here at Goshen College. It's been a great run for me. And, you know, it's obviously your first show, so it's going to be, you know, it's passing the baton a little bit. You know, I'm leaving, you're stepping in. It's going to be, I think it's a good transition show.
I'm excited to be here, and it's a lot to take on, but I'm glad to be here with you on your final show.
Thanks. I got a chance to talk to senior softball catcher Rihanna Cotelis about how she became a Maple Leaf, what she accomplished here at Goshen College in these last 4 years, and her plans for the future. Senior softball catcher for the Goshen College Maple Leafs, Rihanna Cotelis has seen some success over her 4 years in the purple and white. She reflects on the journey to becoming a Maple Leaf.
When I was playing travel softball growing up, it was always a huge deal to get recruited by college coaches, and we would go to these college showcases where there's tons of coaches there watching your games. But there was one tournament we went to Colorado, which was a really big deal. That was our biggest showcase. And I met Kristen Coulter, and she was the one that kind of gave me her name in the school, and she said, Goshen College is like 950 students, and that's super small. Like, that's smaller than my high school. But anyways, I just kind of kept her name and Goshen College in the back of my head. And then, you know, it was my senior year of high school. I was like talking to other schools, and then I came on a visit to Goshen College, and I realized, you know, Goshen College has a really well-recognized education department, and I knew that Goshen College was the place I needed to come because of the great athletics and academics.
Cotelis came to the realization early on what it means to be a student athlete.
So my freshman year of college, being a student athlete was definitely a difficult transition. I mean, I came from being in high school where I was super involved in different clubs and activities, as well as being an athlete, and actually a multi-sport athlete. So it was something, you know, I was super involved in stuff. And then once I came to college and played at the collegiate level, it was soon you're playing one sport, that's your focus, and you're here for sports and academics. So making the transition of, you know, you're waking up at 6 a.m. for practice, you're going to practice from 6 to 8, and then have to go to class all day, come back, do homework, and then maybe have an afternoon practice too. It was definitely a lot of time management, and, you know, sometimes social life had to take a back seat, and like some other parts of your other hobbies and stuff you weren't necessarily getting to do. But then, you know, you get used to it, and then you soon fall in love with it, and that's why I'm here year 4.
She's seen plenty of success during her time at Goshen, as she is #1 all-time in triples in Goshen College softball history and was part of the 2019 squad that set the record for most wins in a single season in program history.
I came from a pretty successful travel ball team and high school team, so now being on a team here at Goshen College where we're successful, we have really talented athletes on the team. Like, it's just super fun. It makes it not only about being together, but when you win, it's just even more fun. So, and it makes all the time that we're putting in just that much more worthwhile.
So with the COVID-19 pandemic, she's eligible for a 5th season and recently decided to take the opportunity to come back for one more year.
Honestly, it was just the team and the team dynamic and my teammates. You know, I've loved all the teams that I've been on here at Goshen College, but the girls that have come in this year and just the way that we work together, they make it really fun. And it's something that if I were to not come back, or if I knew 10 years down the road that I had the opportunity to come back for another year and I didn't take it, like I was going to regret it. So yeah, and then also just academics make sense, and I'm going to benefit from that in my future too. So yeah, I'm really excited to come back another year and, you know, take our success this year and just take it into next year as well.
For Globe Sports, I'm Zachariah Begley.
I love softball. I haven't been able to go to any softball games here at Goshen, though. How about you?
Yeah, obviously I went to the one to get some B-roll, but I've been to a couple others, and, you know, it's been fun watching some softball, getting a chance to, you know, watch Rihanna Cotelis, but also all the other players, and I mean, they're really having one of their better years, especially after missing last year. It's nice to have softball back.
Yeah, it's definitely great to see them succeed. Coming up next, we interview Brian Mast, the Executive Director of Goshen College's Music Center, about how the music program has continued going through COVID-19.
You're tuned in with me for the breakfast blend. No one should have to go through the morning by themselves. A girl's mouth allegedly set on fire by a dentist. What? Yes, a 5-year-old girl.
I'd like to welcome Brian Mast to the show. Brian is the Executive Director of the Goshen College Music Center and an active member in community orchestras and theaters. You know, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. I'm glad to see this crazy year is wrapping up right now. But we've got some exciting things happening in the music center, and so it's fun to work with students.
So it's been a really crazy year, especially with the pandemic and how, you know, doing music, like you're having to wear masks. So, you know, when you think about using an instrument, you're like, well, how do I like play my flute or my saxophone or my trombone? And then singing as well, you know, the instrument is the voice. So kind of walk us through how you've kind of handled that this year.
Yeah, so originally we were thinking there was going to be no choirs and no singing, kind of live singing and no live performances. And so we started following this massive study that was a collective of performing arts groups that came out of University of Colorado, and they kind of gave us some guidelines to go with. Things like not rehearsing for longer than 30 minutes in a space, wearing masks. Even wind players are wearing masks. They have a split. They have special masks that have a split so they can put their mouthpiece in, but then it kind of covers their mask or their mouth. We have bags that the clarinets are in and bags that the oboes, all those kinds of instruments. So we've tried to be as safe as possible, and it's really been awesome to be able to have some music happening.
Yeah, and then again, you talk a little bit about, you know, 30 minutes, but again, when you go to a concert, they're in such close quarters. So have you kind of done some social distancing things by you know, moving chairs? And then also think about it, how you have to have less people on stage then. So how has that kind of worked?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And I should have said singers, we've purchased these special, they're called singers resonance masks. Mm-hmm. And so they allow the singers to have full use of their mouth, but also allow them to project well through. So there's been some expenses that way. So as far as physical distancing, we've utilized the tent that's in the music center courtyard. We mark out 6 foot. We have 6 foot markings everywhere in the music center. So we have them in the tent, in the choir room, the orchestra room, and the orchestra has been rehearsing on Souter Concert Hall stage because it's the only place that's large enough. And we use every square inch, even off to the side some, to be able to maintain our distance.
Yeah, can you talk a little bit about how concerts have worked? So obviously, there's been some pre-recorded concerts and then also some limited number of people in venues. So can you talk a little bit more about how that's worked?
Sure. So all of the choir concerts have been pre-recorded and then virtually streamed. Just because the nature of singing and projecting, we're being extra safe there. For instrumental concerts, we've been fortunate enough to be able to do those live and live stream them, but also have a small live audience, which has been super fun to have. Even 100 people in Souter Concert Hall, which holds 1,000, is really exciting.
Yeah, can you talk a little bit about, so there's this sense of, you know, you've said 30 minutes and then these concerts. So concerts previously were an hour. So are they shortened to 30 minutes to kind of make up for, or to kind of keep the 30 minutes in one space type of thing?
Yeah. So, the orchestra, we stretch it just a little bit because there's downtime. I mean, we are really fortunate to have the music center. And one of the big things the CDC and this study have said is it's really about turning over the air in the room. And so the air handling system in Souder is amazing. And the way it draws, the air comes in over the stage and out through the sides low, it really does a good job. So we push it a little bit. We do about 40 minutes, the concerts, but they definitely are shorter. For the concerts that are live. For choir concerts, it doesn't matter. They just are recording in 30-minute segments.
Yeah, so what are you doing when you're practicing also to keep involved with that, within the 30 minutes? So like during the winter, they took the tents down here on campus, and so you couldn't use them. So were you practicing for 30 minutes, leaving the room, and then coming back in?
Yeah, so what happens is we have this rotation, and both the choirs and the orchestra do this. So the orchestra will rehearse for 30 minutes, and then usually we'll split into sectionals. And so I can take the strings to 150, to the orchestra room, which is MC 150, and rehearse them for 30 minutes, and then we all come back together. And the choirs have been doing the same thing. So they're utilizing the choir room, Wreath Recital Hall, Souder Concert Hall, and just kind of rotating around the building.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. I think it's been really interesting to kind of see what's going on and kind of how, we've been able to stay safe here on campus and also play music and enjoy the arts.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me. It's great to have a conversation with you, Zach.
That was an interview with Brian Mast, the Executive Director of the Goshen College Music Center, here on the Globe News Report.
Up next, the community of Goshen fights back against the traffic congestion caused by trains that pass through the city. Jeremiah Sherrill has the story.
Train congestion has increased in Goshen as of recently, and community members have been feeling its adverse effects. Often the train is stopped for long periods of time, causing severe traffic congestion right in the middle of town. Councilman Herberto Perez Jr. gave comments about the letter of grievances that was drafted to Norfolk Southern.
The mayor was working with the sheriff and other elected officials, such as the county commissioners, stating our displeasure with what's happening right now.
The letter, which was sent to the Norfolk Southern Board of Directors, was very clear about the issues regarding the stopped trains, specifically containing the phrase that the city of Goshen was being held hostage by stopped trains for nearly 3 hours in recent times. Not only did they cite blocked traffic as an issue, but also being a hindrance to school buses and emergency vehicles.
The hospital is important for people, and something like a 30 to an hour long train delay could make a lot of difference.
Working at the hospital, I know if there's an ambulance stuck on the other side, that's not great for patient care, patient outcomes. Like, I know we now have the overpass on the north side of town and on the south side of town, but those are way out of the way for any type of emergency vehicles trying to get to the hospital. It's definitely something I think about when I think about my patients in the hospital.
Members of the community are glad that the issue is being addressed and hope that long-term solutions are found.
Well, I was impressed. I never thought that the town would actually decide to come together as a community and get like different local leaders and actually try to bring their concerns and the community's concerns to the railroad company.
I think it's a good thing that they're discussing it. It needs to change.
The Goshen city government called for a meeting with the heads of Norfolk Southern so that this issue can be resolved.
I think the main complaint is keep the trains moving. And the solution is keep the trains moving. Don't have them stop, because it impacts our daily life.
Reporting for Globe News, I'm Jeremiah Sherrill.
You know, Dante, these trains really do cause a problem. I mean, it's hard to, you know, I get stuck behind the trains all the time, going to something, either going to class or, you know, trying to leave campus in my car. I mean, I'm assuming you've gotten stuck behind the trains too.
Plenty of times. I grew up around this area. I know exactly what you're talking about. I get stuck behind the train all the time. It's frustrating.
Yeah, and, you know, something's going to be done about it at some point. But, yeah, it's just a little frustrating.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's all we have for you in this episode of the Globe News Report. We'll be back in the fall with another update. Check us out on social media at 911 The Globe and on our website, globeradio.org. Until next time, this has been the Globe News Report. So, Dante, those trains really are a problem sometimes. I mean, I get stuck behind a train going to class or, you know, trying to go to the store and get food or something. It's kind of a hassle.
Yeah, absolutely it is. And as someone who's grown up around this area, I think I've been stuck behind those trains, sometimes 2 or 3 trains. Like, it feels like hundreds of times. It's just frustrating.
And, you know, at some point, there'll be some sort of problem resolved because I think people in the community are worried about it, and the train company also, you know, needs to be heard as well. So at some point, something will happen. But yeah, it really just is a hassle.
Absolutely, and hopefully the community can come to some sort of resolution.
Well, that's all we have for this episode of the Globe News Report. We'll be back in the fall with another update.
Check us out on social media at 911 The Globe and our website, globeradio.org. Until next time, this has been the Globe News Report.